There are a few companies based out of New York City and that have a strong New York City presence that are actively hiring software engineers right now, and you have got to apply. First, just a little bit about myself. I've previously gotten offers from Amazon and Google, and over the past few years, I've really been able to see the strategies that are actually working in today's market because the market has definitely evolved over the past few years. And so, what are those companies and how can you maximize your chance of landing an interview? So, first, I actually run a community with tons of software engineers that are actually looking for jobs right now, and I'm mentoring them and guiding them with the entire process. And that's how I've really been able to see which companies are actively interviewing people right now. So one of the engineers I'm mentoring, his name is Arjun. He's currently in the interview process with Stripe, which has a significant presence in New York City. And you can see over here, in case you were wondering the proof, this is cold hard proof. This is a screenshot of him getting into the phone screen process with Stripe, and now he's actually kind of at the final stage where he's going to do a live coding round with Stripe. Same thing with Tushara. Tushara is another engineer that I'm currently mentoring. She's part of the community, and she actually recently got an offer with a company called Merge, based out of New York City. And Merge is more of a startup, so not like a big tech company like Stripe, but they're actively hiring engineers right now as well. And I say this to really show you that if you've been struggling to land interviews lately, if you've been sending out applications, especially if your ideal location is New York City and you haven't been landing interviews, I just say this to show you that it's still 100% possible to land interviews right now. And here's the proof. There's people I'm mentoring who are getting interviews at top companies in New York City. And if you're not landing interviews, it might just be a kind of a difference in your strategy, your resume, your networking approach that really needs to be changed to get you more interviews. And so what can we ultimately control? The resume. I know you probably don't want to hear me talk about the resume, but at the end of the day, it's really that one document we can control that's going to affect how many interviews you get. It's the one document we can actually control. And if you have a couple of years of experience, there are a few things on your resume that really need to be dialed in and really need to be optimized to maximize your chance of landing interviews. Whether you're aiming for big tech, whether you're aiming for mid-sized companies, startups, no matter the type of company you're aiming for, your resume needs to be optimized because at the end of the day, recruiters only spend an average of 7 seconds on your resume. That's all you get. And it really has to make a strong impression on them in that 7 seconds. And so there is actually a proven resume template that in our company we use for all the engineers we mentor. And I'm going to kind of walk you through it now. Don't want to really bore you with every single line of this resume, but I'm going to go over the highlights so that you can make the changes on your resume and hopefully start landing more interviews, especially if you're aiming for roles in New York City. So first things first, the top of the resume, this section over here. There's all the standard stuff like phone number, email, LinkedIn, GitHub, but what a lot of people forget to include is your work authorization, whether you're a citizen, whether you're on a visa. You should put this at the top of your resume in the top left. And the reason for that is recruiters, again, they only spend 7 seconds on your resume. And so anything that's a logistical detail that is crucial to whether or not you can actually get an offer or an interview from that company, you just need to make it crystal clear for them and just put it in the top left at the top of your resume. And so if you're watching this video, you're probably a US citizen, and you really want to put that at the top of your resume in the top left just to make it super clear for recruiters. That's actually something that will help you land more interviews because it just makes the recruiter's life easier if they already know, okay, this person is authorized to work in the US. Next would be the experience section, right? This is really going to be the meat of the resume, and this is where most people really need to make some improvements. And there's ultimately two things about the experience section that are absolutely crucial for landing interviews that helped me ultimately get interviews and offers from Amazon and Google. And what are those two things? It's your titles. The first thing is the titles. And the second thing is the right balance of metrics and quantitative impact in your bullet points. So I'll go over the titles first. I review hundreds and hundreds of resumes from other software engineers every single month. And the biggest mistake I see is people having weird titles all over their resume. One role will say web developer. The other says backend engineer. The other one says full stack developer. People have different titles all over their resume. One of them will say software developer. And this is a huge, huge mistake. You want to just change all of the titles on your resume to just say software engineer. And I've spoken to recruiters in the industry about this, and this is actually what they prefer. When a recruiter sees web developer, full stack developer, backend engineer, all these different titles for your past experiences. When a recruiter sees that, they actually don't like that. They think that your experience is kind of scattered and it's all over the place, which I know sounds ridiculous because those are all just, under the umbrella of software engineering, right? Ultimately, they all fall under software engineering, whether it's web development, full stack, backend, whatever. It's all under software engineering, right? But from the recruiter's perspective, you have to remember recruiters are non-technical. They prefer if everything just says software engineer, software engineer, software engineer, software engineer. I've spoken to recruiters in the industry about this, and this is actually what they prefer. And if you make that change to your resume, you will 100% land more interviews. The next thing is the actual bullet points on your resume. You'll notice that parts of the bullet points here are actually bolded. Serving 10 million plus predictions, improving accuracy by 20%, improving throughput by 30%. And then some bullet points, like this one, these two over here, those bullet points don't have anything bolded at all. And in fact, they don't have any metrics or percentages. And this is absolutely crucial. It's probably one of the most important things on your resume, so listen closely. Some people have, very few metrics, statistics, percentages, quantitative impact on their resume. Maybe they have it in 1 or 2 bullet points, but they're really lacking it on their resume. Some people are in that camp. Then there's people who have those metrics and statistics and percentages in every single bullet point on their resume. And that's also bad. That's also a red flag because it seems like you probably, bullshitted those metrics, and it obviously is going to seem fake, right? It's a little unrealistic to really have precise impact for every single one of your bullet points. But on the other hand, if you don't have it in any of them, or if you only have it in 1 or 2 of them, that's also a red flag for recruiters. Recruiters are looking for, when they're skimming over your resume, they're ultimately scanning for that impact, quantitative, measurable impact. And so a good rule to aim for is around roughly 50% of the bullet points on your resume should have metrics, percentages, statistics like 20%, 30%, etc. And the other 50%, they don't need to have any kind of metrics at all, kind of like these 2 bullet points over here. That's the golden ratio that I've ultimately found after getting interviews and offers from Amazon and Google, as well as mentoring hundreds and hundreds of other software engineers with their job search. That's what I've been able to find. Finally, the education section over here. If you're watching this video, you have a couple years of experience at this point. You're not a student if you're watching this video, and you're not fresh out of college, right? So your education section needs to actually be at the bottom of your resume. And if you have it at the top of your resume, that's a big mistake. Because if you have it at the top of your resume, recruiters are going to assume that you're inexperienced, right? They're going to assume that you're a student or you're someone fresh out of college, and you don't want them to make that assumption about you. And I know that sounds kind of silly because recruiters can obviously just read the graduation date, right, and see that this was, 2 years ago, and now you have 2 years of experience. But at the end of the day, recruiters are only skimming your resume for 7 seconds. So you don't want to give the recruiter any reason at all to reject you or pass over your resume. You want to make things as simple as possible for them. And so if you're watching this video, this channel is really meant for people who have at least 2 years of experience as a software engineer, 2 years or more. And so your education section really needs to be at the bottom of your resume. That is absolutely crucial. So I hope you found this video valuable. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you soon.